It is a beautiful, beautiful morning. I hope life is treating you well. Got my light trekking cup. Nothing like that first sip. I got some Black Rifle coffee, and it's called Gunship, which is what the thumbnail is. That's what I got this morning. So, out of all the Black Rifle flavors I've had, this one seems to be my favorite. So, we'll get some people in here. And we'll talk about a few things. We'll talk about my diet, how it's going, and we'll talk about we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, right? Like, gee, Steve, you're home again. My strategy worked perfectly. The only thing is that I've got a load that doesn't deliver till Wednesday, so I don't leave out until tomorrow, which is kind of nice, I guess. Because this lawn seriously needs to be mowed, so that's probably what I'll be doing. Hopefully, not reactivate my, crap on my arms, right? Either or pay a teenager to do it. But we'll see. We'll see. We did what we did for our family in Memorial Day. This is kind of cool. It's very, is pretty cool. So, we'll get some people in here. My morning coffee lives usually don't get a whole lot of views, but that's okay. I don't care. Let's see if we're showing up here on the. There it is. Turn the echo off. All right, so we'll get into this. There, you guys ready? We got Dana Ladami, Eddie Drotar, Don Schonger, S. Scott, SRO Logistics, Clyde Garland, the Cycling Trucker. You're in the process of watching my last vid. What was my last video? Oh, I think of the chicken on the skewer things, the low carb deal. Pneumatic Brit, good morning. Clyde Garland. Let's see, Great Freight Sage Logic. Other Trucker James Best, word up. Welcome back. Moonflea, you've got your coffee, good deal. Thomas, you are first. Little Viking Coach, thumbs up. So, this is what my family did for Memorial Day. So we had some extended family in town. So what my brother-in-law did is he decided to give a tour of where my wife's, him and his family, where his great grandparents were buried, and great grandparents, and of course grandparents. So it was in memoriam. It was pretty cool. It wasn't just like, hey, let's go to the house and cook out, which is fine, but it was pretty cool. And then today we're probably more likely going to visit my dad's grave, which is in my thumbnail on Facebook. So probably do that today. On the food aspect of holiday weekend cookouts. So my wife's side of the family are always really good about having all kinds of food. Every family event you leave like 5 pounds heavier. It's a guarantee. And so I knew that was going to be a challenge in my efforts to stay completely clean on the food. So on the way down there, what I did is I bought pork rinds because it's a snacky food, and I brought summer sausage. So if there was any cheats at all, it was not clean ingredients. I did buy some pork rinds that were flavored. But I mainly ate the plain ones, and then, but planning ahead is important on something like that. When you want to hold true to something, and you know what? Here's the deal: if you go off the rail on a holiday, it's not a big deal. I ate way too much though. I ate way too much summer sausage, and ring bologna, and hamburgers and hot dogs and cheese. So, but for the most part, I was able to partake. I was able to feel full. I didn't feel deprived, and just remembering, the reason why you stay on track is the most important thing. My wife makes this really awesome dessert that would normally be one of my cheats, but all in all, we had a good day. And the weather's just been absolutely just perfect. No wind, perfect temperature. It's just, you can't ask for a better day. So, and then tomorrow we'll go back to work. Finish this load out, and then see what next week brings with a fresh clock. Because I intend to stay out as much as I can because of things coming up here in the next month and a half, 2 months. So, let's look at some more comments here. Dropped 10 pounds first 12 days, probably mostly water, but pounds is pounds. Morning Snorelord in chat says Chucky, GNC Family Trucking. Alright, Eric's in the house. Yep, little blank touch. Alright, so yes, I've lost 10 pounds. So if you guys read my community post and also posted on Facebook and Instagram, when I went and saw the doctor for my severe poison ivy reaction, I was at 279, which at my lowest I was 258, and at my highest I was, before all the keto and all that stuff, it was 378, 380 actually. Knowing that I felt lighter, I was anxious to get home to weigh myself on that scale. And we were at 269. And now, of course, after yesterday, I felt like I've gained another 10 pounds, but I got on the scale and I was at 270. So we're holding steady. The comment Scott made about water weight, when you go on a low carb diet, you are going to lose 15, 20, 25, depending on how heavy you are, pounds right off the bat. And it's going to be a lot of water weight. And I like how, Scott didn't do this. Scott and I talked about this before, but like people, well, it's just water weight. Weight is weight. You know what I mean? That's a comment. That's a sabotaging comment. That's a comment that's designed to discourage you. And that's the thing when you're dealing with holiday cookouts and this culture of eating. People will do everything they can to give you these little shots of, well, it's just this, or you're going to do this, And when I was discussing this with a family member yesterday, because this family member had gone paleo at one time. This family member had gone low carb at one time, but couldn't stick with it. And she started telling me about basically calorie restriction, and I wanted to sit there and just like, oh man, you've not seen the information I've seen. But I wasn't about to have that kind of debate at a holiday, cookout. Why be the party pooper, right? But it's apparent that they struggle with certain mental aspects of it, and I get that. I suffer from a lot of mental aspects of everything. Trust me. But you just gotta, sometimes you just gotta stay in your own lane and stay the course, and just know that what you're doing is working for you. It may not work for someone else, but it's working for you, and that's it. That's the problem with a lot of vegans, is they tend to be like, you have to do it my way, and you're a butthead if you don't, because you're killing animals, that kind of thing. And so it's important not to be very judgmental. People are very sensitive around me sometimes, like, oh, I know it's not what you would do, or I know it's not perfect like you are, that kind of thing. And I just, I don't know. Whoa. I'm just like, man, I have no intention of shouting at you or preaching to you or attacking you for what you do. That's the thing. People get very defensive. And when you're dealing with food addictions and a culture that's been ingrained since the day that you were born, it's tough not to feel like you're being attacked when someone wants to help you with your health. So, okay. I had a $3 plus mile load out of Texas, and I'm getting screwed over because the damn load isn't ready, and I don't even know when it'll be ready. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Daniel. I don't know the circumstances. If it's not ready, and you don't have an answer for the shipper, or from the shipper, then call the broker and give me a tow-new and move on. That's the risk of picking up a load on a holiday Monday, because even if a place is open, they're going to be at a skeleton staff, and if you can get a hold of a broker on a Monday, on a Memorial Day weekend, that's going to be tough. So what I learned, I learned this from Landstar, is that when you book a load, you want it to deliver on Tuesday and pick up on Friday, and that way, because there was a load I was looking at that I called on that was delivered on Saturday, and I would have just headed home from there. However, if I showed up at the customer and it turns out they weren't open, which that happens a lot, then I was screwed, right? Then I'm sitting for 3 days on a 500-mile load. I didn't want to do that, so that's why I picked something with some miles and some time on it, so that there wouldn't be that risk. And that's the crappy thing about holiday weekends in the spot market, is when you deal with that kind of stuff. And I can't tell you how many times that people are doing accidental 34s because the broker didn't communicate with the shipper, or the shipper didn't communicate with the broker. And that's why if you're going to work over a holiday weekend, the perfect way to do it is do a 900,000-mile load that has 3 days on it. That way you get your 34, and that way you get, or you time it to where, you pick up on Friday, do 1,500 miles, and delivers Tuesday morning, something like that. And that way, when you pick up on Friday, if there's an issue, the broker's still in the office. When you deliver on Tuesday, if there's an issue, the broker's still in the office. So. Not all brokers are closed. James Best, I agree with you there. So booking a load on a holiday weekend is a little bit harder than dealing with the load. You know, a lot of places like CH and Uber and all that, they've got these 24-hour lines, you know. But the problem is that the broker might be open, but if they can't get a hold of the customer, because think about this, if you're hauling bottled water going to a Walmart is actually the customer, right? So if there's an issue at the shipper, then what the broker has to do is they have to get a hold of Walmart, right? Say, hey, Walmart, such and such water is screwing this up. What do you want to do about it? And if there's no one in that office, then that's where the broker's hands are tied as well. So good morning, Truth About Trucking Wife. Good morning, John. Welcome back. I can see your comments. Let's see. Trying to deliver 5,000 gallons of chemical, and P&G in Lima is closed until tomorrow, so relaying, but still get full payment on load at 940 miles at $4.75 per mile. Good deal. I inspired you to make more coffee. Good deal. Cheers. Cheers, Food Mooch. You gotta love these Yeti cups. Normally I'd be drinking cold coffee at this moment because I've been doing talking, more talking, less drinking. A lot of the lessons that I try to tell you guys in the spot market, it's not because I'm sitting there analyzing things and I'm a smart person. It's because I've made these mistakes and I've watched other people make these mistakes. And I guess if someone asks me what's the single most important advice that you can give when it comes to running a truck in the spot market, and that answer would be observant. Pay attention. Because not only is it important to know to avoid the situation Daniel's in, but it's also important to know that if you're in the situation Daniel's in, how to react to it. And how do you learn how to react to it? Well, you watch how other people have reacted to it. You ask the people who have been in that situation. Because no matter how careful I am or how hard I try to avoid that kind of situation on a holiday weekend if I'm working, it still doesn't mean it can't happen. And so the other rule of thumb that I do for myself is that if I get in a situation like that, could I just go home? And that's the thing. Yeah, that's usually more reserved for Christmas, New Year's kind of deal. Like Christmas, if you got a load that was supposed to get you home, try to time it to where you're going to go through the house or something delivers close to the house. and work according. So if that backup load, if that secondary load that I was staging falls through, then I can just go home. So not a big deal. It's 3 in the afternoon here. Already had an entire pot of coffee. Except what you can't change, right? And sometimes you're just in a bad situation. It's you know, and at that point, if you can't control any of it, you can only control your reaction. So you try to make the best of it, you know, and move on. So Ninja, good morning. What's your favorite top ramen? You know, it's interesting you say that because I used to be a ramen addict. I used to eat ramen all the time. That stuff's just, oh, that stuff's horrible. Truck for Life, good morning. Student food. Problem with ramen is you feel hungry afterwards. It's not really filling unless you eat like 3 packages of it. Then you're like, what did I just do to myself? After I get the rate con, I call the customer and introduce myself and verify the information. Yeah, that's important. Especially if you're really worried that it's going to go south, you know, or sideways, I guess. And delivery numbers, especially. The load that a lot of times I'll have, you know, there was a certain broker I used to do these loads for all the time, and it was delivering at Dollar General. And I always know that Dollar General delivery numbers are an 8-4, 8-3, 8 something, you know, number, delivery number. And then when I don't see that on the rate con, I call the broker. I'm like, hey, guess what? You need this. Oh, yeah, sorry, we forgot. You know, I can't tell you how many times that happened. And how do I know to do that? Because I've sat for 3 days. It cost me a lot of money because a Landstar agent didn't have the right delivery number. So half the time you can't get a hold of shippers and receivers. Well, and there's some raycons that don't want you to contact the shippers and receivers. So that's the thing. Like, you know, I dealt with a new shipper this last load, and I asked the broker, I said, can you go in early? She's like, absolutely. I'm like, okay. But I didn't call the shipper to verify that. I just showed up because I looked at this is what I did. I looked at Google Maps. I looked at what the situation was on Google Maps. I was like, okay, this looks like a place that I could stay for 4 hours if needed, if they don't want to load me early. You know, and then I get my split sleeper berth in, and so there's no risk going to the shipper. And I showed up, and they had me loaded in 20 minutes. I mean, it was like, boom, like that. And the rate con, you know, it's funny. This broker says, oh, we know this customer. We deal with this customer all the time. They will get you in 3 or 4 or 5 hours early. And they put 40,000 on the rate con. Well, guess what? It was only 9,000 pounds, 9,900, so 10,000 pounds. And so that was a nice bonus. But sometimes in a situation like that, I'll show up and I'll go, hey, yeah, my dispatcher wanted me to come in here early and see if you guys will load me early, you know. And you know how dispatchers are, you know. I use that line a lot, you know, and I'm not lying, right? So And that usually gets a little bit of sympathy, but not much. But it, so a lot of times just, unless it screws up your next load or your timing of your delivery, then going in early is always an option. Now on deliveries, Walmart, Dollar General, grocery warehouses, they usually don't want you early more than an hour. So you have to time that just right. Sage Logic, mailing out my spot on the kegerator soon. But so there's different strategies and everything that you learn. Like I said, I've been doing the spot market for 3, but it feels longer because when I was at Landstar, we dealt with spot market stuff, so it's almost the same thing. Schneider was a little bit easier to deal with holidays, unless you had to get hold of after hours over box movement or a load issue. That's when it sucked. So. Overtaxed Minnesota. Good morning, Mr. Snorelord. Think about taking up the guitar. Any suggestions? Oh man, that's a loaded question. I'll get to that here in a second. Do you think it's easier to be a trucker now than it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s because there's GPS and back then it was just maps? Yeah, Peter Ken, I do absolutely. I do think it's easier because back in the day when you had to do delivery, you had to have maps. You had stacks and stacks of maps. You could still get free maps at rest areas, but nothing really helped you locally. So you had to wait in line to use the phone and hoped that they answered the phone and can help you get into the customer. And so, and I'm not 100% dependent on the GPS, but what I like about the GPS is if you're looking for a street in the dark, now you're not with the spotlight trying to look for street signs or putting your brights on in the middle of the city that ticks everybody off. And then evaluating where and how and when to go into the parking lot is huge with me. So yes, absolutely, it's easier. Dave, we can answer the guitar question on the phone. I think it'd be easier. I do have some tips and suggestions. So, Pale Rider TV is in the house. I enjoyed Pale Rider's video this morning about Memorial Day. So, Dutch retracted his message. I drove in an automatic 2017 680. That thing rode like a car. I would get bored driving that truck. Yes, CB. That's actually come in handy several times. CB radio. I don't hear it anymore, but when I first started, and then of course when I was riding with my dad, there were many times where you would get on the radio and you ask for local information, and you'd hope that the local guys that have been in there before or ran with the CB could help you out. And there were plenty of times where I had to get on the CB and ask, how do you get into this place, or anybody know where this and this is, or the best way to get to this place, and somebody would answer. So a lot of times that comes in handy during backups too. It's like if you just follow the crowd of trucks going the wrong way because they're avoiding an accident on the interstate, that could be a bad thing. But if you get on the radio and say, hey, what happens if I take this Highway 3, and they're like, well, if you take Highway 3, you're going to come across this, and this, can a big truck? Yeah, you can do that, da-da-da-da-da, that kind of thing. Over here we have time slots. If you're late, you're at the back of the line, but if you're early, you have to wait until your time slot, even if the slot is empty. Dutch, that's how some places are here too. Jeremy Rice, good morning. Are you a 2XL yet? I want to send you a shirt. There's a couple of 2XLs I can fit in, but I look like a millennial wearing too skinny of a shirt, so we're not there yet. But this is a 3XL and it's very loose. I got my All About Guns t-shirt. Do you think it sucks for tanker drivers because their trailer tires can never be adjusted for weight? No, Peter, because that weight's constantly moving around anyways in a tank. So they can't go above a certain amount of gallons, and so that's usually not an issue. So, I mean, I'll take a 2XL shirt. I'll make it a goal to fit in it, James Best. Adjusting for the future, LOL. How is the t-shirt making biz there, Mr. Best? But I believe that's all I got. This could be a shorter live feed. We've been at 31 minutes. It's about all I got, unless more people come in. All right, Mr. Best. Vinyl's the way to go. I would probably agree with that. Now, if you think about it, when you go to, like, you can go to Sam's Club and get anything put on a shirt, anything put on a coffee mug, right? Like this, for example. This is, I forget what material this is, but it's not vinyl, but you can do vinyl. Like, you can go to Joplin Petro and get a logo made and put on a coffee mug. They sell the Plank Yeti mugs and and as long as you're not putting this thing through the dishwasher, it'll probably be okay. Peter Ken, I'm glad I don't have to move wheels driving tanker. Do you think they ruined the Dodge Charger, giving it 4 doors? Now it doesn't look like a muscle car. I don't know. I'm not really particular about 4-door versus 2-door. So I'm not a. Yeah, so I'm kind of indifferent to it. Vinyl printer does all kinds of crazy stuff. Jeff Arrington, what's up? Just throw some salt and ice in the cup. It'll clean up perfectly without the dishwasher. Yeah, that's a way to clean coffee pots too. Just take some salt and ice and you're good to go. Never know later, possibly, if the wife works. I think the important part, I think the final thought of this video is that whether you're dealing with diet stuff or spot market stuff or trucking stuff, strategizing is important. Where you place yourself. Like I said, I knew I was going to be challenged with the temptations of the food. And maybe that's why I ate too much, like, sausage and bologna and hot dogs, so because it was in an effort to make sure that I wanted nothing to do with the other stuff. That was very tempting. My mom makes great potato salad. You know, my mother-in-law makes great macaroni and cheese, you know, that kind of thing. So think about this. Porsche has a four-door. Porsche has a SUV. That's what I can't get my head around. I got a friend of mine that owns one. I'm like, it's an SUV. You're driving an overpriced Ford Explorer. I mean, come on. How cool is that? Just said Chinese food, don't think anything they have is keto. Again, it goes back to strategy. You know, over here in America, Dutch, we have these Chinese restaurant buffets. And you actually can remain on a low carb situation at a Chinese buffet. I've done it. I've proven it to several people. Especially if they have a hibachi, you know, like you go up to the raw meat counter and grab a bunch of raw meat, and there you go. But what fun is it to pay $10 for, you know, $4 worth of meat? You know, I guess somebody else cooks it for you. The problem with a lot of that food is the starches, the cornstarch that they use to cook with, and you know, because like egg drop soup, that's low carb, right? But you know, they put cornstarch in it, and it's not great for your body. So. What was my very first semi I ever drove and owned? Oh, Marty, that's finally a good question. The first truck I drove was a 97 Freightliner Classic. You know, the big hood one. The first one that was ever issued to me as a company driver was a Volvo 670. I hated that truck. The first truck I owned was a Peterbilt 387. So. That says Porsche Cayenne. That's for ladies with high heels. Really, guys, we're gonna argue with Taco Bell? Really? I think everybody's quick to argue when they disagree with something, and so let's take the Taco Bell scenario that James Best puts himself into willingly. Okay. And this is where social media has kind of corrupted everybody. So James Best goes online. He goes on live YouTube with 50 people watching, and he goes, Taco Bell is the most authentic, best Mexican food you can get. Now, whether I firmly believe that he firmly believes that, okay? But somebody might look at that and think he's joking. And then they get extra, like, what? You know, when they figure out that he's not, okay? So, it's amazing how when he says a simple sentence like, Taco Bell is the best Mexican food, most authentic Mexican food you can get, how offended people get. They either get offended or their brain is so like overloaded with, I can't believe you just said that, that there's almost there's a huge reaction to it. And so one has to wonder if James just says that for the reaction, or James truly believes that and the reaction is just part of the game, part of the fun, right? I believe it's a little bit of both. But it's amazing how I think I watched a video. I was at home doing some stuff in the background, and I literally watched James Best argue with a bunch of people for 25 minutes on the validity of Taco Bell in the Mexican food universe. $25 minutes. Now, if you're new to James Best's channel, that's really not out of the ordinary. I mean, you know, you can do 30 minutes talking about, you know, the color of a shirt, you know. So, but the point is that we're so easily stirred, you know. Can you believe James Best said that Mexican food is crap unless it's Taco Bell, you know. It's just like it's funny. It's funny to me watching people's reactions on both sides. And then Daniel just kind of is proving my point. Good morning. Have a question. Want to hear all your thoughts debating on getting out of the truck and becoming a broker. I have worked the dock, own my truck. This would be the next step. OTR David, getting on with a broker, working for them, would be your best bet. Become an agent for somebody. That way you learn the ins and outs. That would be my suggestion. But for the most part, you want to go to the Great Freight Sage Logics channel and ask that question over there. And he can kind of give you the ins and outs. But as far as like, you know, like what James Best is doing, where he started a brokerage, that takes time. And you got to be a good salesperson. And it's not something that you can live off of right off the beginning. So it's a slow beginning process. But if you work for somebody like a big brokerage like CH or TQL and learn what it takes to do that, that's possible. You know, that would be a more natural way to get in there. But usually a good exit plan to get out of the truck requires a little bit of time and patience. To make sure, you know, you don't want to just like, you know, call your company like, I'm out, peace, you know, and clean out your truck and then not have a job. You want an exit plan. So the fact that you're looking at an exit plan as a broker, that's to me, that's a realistic, good plan, but it's not one that will bring instant results. Whatever, I'm out. So obviously Daniel's been upset over Mexican food, or what James Best perceives as Mexican food. So there you go. The more you know. Can you imagine Daniel Adami? I'm going to pick on you for a second if you're still in here. You're sitting there enjoying your coffee, your 15 dogs are around you. You're sitting there, hopefully parked, listening to my feed. And James Best comes in there and says something that irritates you to the point that now you're no longer enjoying the live feed. and you're going to leave the live feed. When you allow someone to have that kind of power over you, that is truly a tragedy. And I get it, people don't like to be disrespected or whatever, and that's true. Because I went off on James about how he went off on GNC Family Trucking. However, when I talked to Chucky, he wasn't, he was like, he's very even-keeled. Chucky and I get along. He's not very reactive. And that's power. That's true power. Shipper screwing you up, how you react. How do you react to that? Remaining calm is the only way. If you call, if a broker's ticking you off and you just bark these obscenities at the broker because you've reacted, and then you could force that broker to not ever work with your whole carrier. And if you're in a small carrier like trucking, that could be a problem. And so that kind of reaction is just that's true power, people, is to remain calm, is to rise up when it comes to take time to take action, but to be completely just off the rails and in chaos, that's not power. I would hope to bring more integrity to that part of the industry, David. Well, David, not to burst your bubble, but as a single broker, if you treat drivers good, that's great, and that's needed. However, as you learn that side of the game, and this is something that I know from experience, when you get on that side of the game, then you're going to start realizing the why brokers treat drivers the way they do. You're going to start realizing why the issues that you deal with as a broker versus a driver can actually, you think it'll help you, but you realize that their game is played different, so therefore you got to play by their rules, and their rules require some of the things that they deal with us on their process, right? And so that could be a little disheartening. You want to make a difference. Like, I'm going to be that one broker that's different, that's going to care, and then you're put in a bunch of situations that realize, oh, this is why they do this. Oh, this is why they do that. Oh, I get it now. That kind of thing. And it could be very discouraging. So, that's good intention, and that's great. But you also have to know that if you want to become a successful broker, that you're going to have to play by some of their rules, and their rules sometimes don't favor the driver. So, because if your goal is to bring more integrity to something, those are great intentions, but what happens is that a person can get discouraged when that integrity is compromised. And then it becomes, well, now it's about the money and I have to do what I have to do. And then you feel bad about yourself. And that doesn't help either. So, just some thoughts there. Sergeant Ringo's in the house. Waiting for James to go off of me one time. LOL. I'm still here. I'm just out with the conversation because I know Mexican knows what real Mexican food is and what's not, but I'm out. You think what you want to think. It's not like okay, Daniel Dami, you just said the smartest thing. It's not like I'm going to change anyone's mind about it whatsoever. There it is. You're not going to change James' best mind about Taco Bell. You're not going to change that. And that's the problem with social media. We think that simply because we got this platform and we have these facts in front of us, that I'm going to change your mind. And it's very frustrating when that happens, when you can't, right? And so that's why I didn't get in a big discussion on a family dinner about why their approach to their diet is wrong, or why it won't work, why it's not working. And so the arguing does no good for anybody. And the problem is most people don't have the ability to have a discussion and agree to disagree. It's got to be all or none now. It's either you got to agree with me or you're a piece of crap. And that's kind of what when James Best went off on Chucky the other night, it was about factoring. And there are people that agree that factoring is good, and there are people that don't want to factor. And that's a difference of how you run your business. And to be that angry about somebody doing something different than you is, to me, it seems like a waste of mental health. It seems like because this world is toxic enough. I mean, if you find yourself watching a lot of these, social media stuff that it's all about, we got to expose the bad. We got to expose the bad. We got to, these places are normalizing the things that really wouldn't even be in your head, when it comes to like social issues, which we won't get into. And James Best makes the point. He argues even if he knows he's wrong, and that's the thing. I dated this gal that she would argue with you. She would say the sky is purple just to argue with you. And she would know that the sky isn't purple and would still argue with you because that was like a sport for her. If James Best was single, I would introduce her to him. But that's the important part, Daniel, recognizing that before the argument starts. I'm not going to change my mind. Do I agree with James Best's Taco Bell argument? Absolutely not. And I don't have to be a full-fledged Mexican to recognize that James Best doesn't know what he's talking about. But guess what? I smile, I nod, I laugh because I know what he's doing. And I laugh at people's reactions to that. And it's guaranteed views. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to say something completely off the wall, and people tune into that, right? Reading comments here. Argentinian ribeye, nobody can disagree with that. Except communists. Let the complaints begin. Trucking resurrected my employability. Look, trucking is no different than any other business. You can own a plumbing business. You can own an electrician business. You can own a house building business. And there are so many aspects of business that have integrity and then some that don't. And so instead of trying to bring integrity to, say, the trucking business, you bring integrity to your trucking business. Have those values for your business, regardless if you got a brick and mortar store or a brokerage or, business without morality is one of the Gandhi's 7 sins. And it's true. And so there's a lot of trucking companies that have lost their integrity. And there are a lot of trucking companies that strive on it. So, or strive for it. And so, if you think that you can change the industry, that's a no-go. You know, you can't. Look, think about NFL. Think about football game, right? You want to enter the NFL league, and you play by a certain set of rules. And within those rules, there are people that play with honor, and there are people that don't play with honor. They're not exactly cheating, but they do the things kind of hidden that the refs don't see. And there's oh, I didn't mean to tackle you like that, break your leg. Ooh, oops, sorry, that kind of thing. And to think that one person can change how the NFL is done, that's unrealistic. So you end up getting discouraged, and then you fall victim to doing the same things. But if you do everything that you do, whether it be playing in the NFL or starting a brokerage or a trucking company or whatever, if you do it with an integrity, if you do it with the intention of doing best by you, then that's how you change the industry. That's how you change, one piece at a time. One piece at a time. I want to break the news. I'm getting an aluminum fifth wheel. Good luck with that. Now we're talking about In-N-Out. I'm one of these weird people, but check this out. I like both Whataburger and In-N-Out Burger. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? See, isn't that weird? It's not it's not one or the other. It's not all or none. It's why can't Whataburger and In-N-Out just live in peace and harmony? And what's interesting about Taco Bell is that there should be other reasons why you should be avoiding Taco Bell, not because it's authentic or not. It's just, I've heard stories, and I know people that work there, so just saying. Just saying. Look, fast food is trash anyways. You guys gotta stop eating that crap. Waterburger. Waterburger. Look, the best Whataburger was in Phoenix, Arizona, before they were franchised like to death. That was the best Whataburger. Don't feel sorry for him, Ringo. You can't feel sorry for someone who puts himself in that situation. You just can't. Willingly puts himself in that situation. Look, here's James Best. He goes into Taco Bell. He's got his bib, and he's sitting there. He's got his 15 bean burritos and his chilito, right? And, and he's sitting there and he's just like eating with that big grin on his face, right? And he's completely oblivious and ignorant to what real Mexican food is. He's just like, why destroy his happiness? Why mess with that? Let him be happy. Let him be the content old person in the corner doing his thing with his bib and his 15 burritos and his chilito. I think, why ruin a man's happiness? Like, bless his heart, See, he comes when he eats Taco Bell. Why would you mess that kind of happiness up? Come on, Ringo. Live and let live. dog is barking. Come on out. Hey, come on, Melon. Let's go. Dog probably thought I was talking to somebody, so he's barking. I agree. Welcome back. We've been buying American Wagyu burger at Sam's. So good. Checking in, Rick. You either have integrity and live by it in every area of your life, or you don't, and you're compromising your values. Right. As long as you don't compromise your values, you know, and that might make the journey harder. You know, if you want to be a true, full integrity in whatever business you're in, and not fall victim to the greed and corruption that encompasses every business, you know, at the end of the day, if you're making a little bit less profit because of that, but you feel better about yourself, then that's power. Cooking at home is definitely better. And I've had, like, Mexican food in Mexico, so that's pretty authentic, right? I enjoyed it. Don't know what I was eating, but I enjoyed it. Big Rig CEO, good morning. That's why you want to learn guitar so you play a Taco Bell song. That's funny. Now you're going to read that out loud, James Best. It will be hard if you make a mistake. You'll need to own it and not lie. I notice a lot of people are brainwashed. What's your take on that? Marty, I 110% agree with you. 100%. 100%. Anybody who would think that Taco Bell is Mexican, they're obviously brainwashed. So we just let it ride, let it fly, let him do his thing. So. Every country has a different take on food. Yep. I agree with you, Marty. There is a lot of brainwashing going on. If you would have told me 5 years ago I'd be like a conservative leaning, you know, pew owner, I would have been like, what? That's weird. So maybe I was brainwashed to be this way. Who knows? Get to work, loser. I am working, man. I'm working. As soon as I get a super chat, I'll be paid to be working here. So anybody wants to give a super chat, then boom, I'm making money. So that's work, right? It's work to set up this tripod and talk to a bunch of Taco Bell eaters in the live YouTube. With age, people become more conservative due to their experiences. I agree with that, Dutch. That's absolutely true. That's kind of what's happened. James may not know what real Mexican food is, but he did stay at a Holiday Inn Express. That's funny, Scott. I agree with you, Rick. You are spoiled. Being in Phoenix, Arizona, I was spoiled as well. You know, I think a lot of it is this Tex-Mex stuff that you see. Like, there's a lot of Tex-Mex chains that have popped up around the country that, you know, some are good, some are like, whatever. Some are overpriced, some are decent, you know. It's all on how you look at it. Oh. Look at you, James Best. $1. Payday. All right. Now this load pays $27.51. That's funny. Oh wait. Oh, what I net on that? 70 cents. Big spender. Hey, you know how much Dogecoin that can buy right now? You guys and your Dogecoin, I swear. I put 25 bucks in, I've lost money. You guys are just dumb. Dogecoin is stupid. Cascade says need to grow a set. Here's your hourly pay. $1.99, thank you. Daniel Adami. Nowadays you can't buy a taco for $1 anymore. I think you're right. You know the worst burrito is though? The worst burrito is those fried ones at the convenience stores that are sitting in the hot case for, like 14 hours, Those are like you can literally like use it as a deadly weapon. Like, 2 for $2. And I'm all out of ammo. I'm going to buy these bean burritos. We've all been on the back end of a bad broker. I would like to eliminate that. As for money, there's enough. We should all be able to live comfortably. Well, there you go, OTR David. OTR David, I wish you luck. I would definitely get a hold of Eric, the great freight sage Logic, and he can kind of give you the ins and outs of going into that world. That would be my suggestion. Because Eric knows the stuff when you talk to him. So the great freight sage Logic. 2 breakfast tacos in South Texas, $2. That Laredo Taco Company, I enjoy eating their breakfast burritos there. Back when I was carb addicted. So, you guys hear that woodpecker? No, that's not a woodpecker. That's a impact wrench somewhere, I think. Oh. But anyways, guys, I think that's it. I think we've run our course. We've talked about spot market. We've talked about holiday eating. And we've talked about, surprisingly, 10 minutes of Taco Bell. So, do I live in a forest? Practically. I need to mow the lawn or else it will be a forest. So, that'll... Now, when I do the live feeds from the back porch, it's a lot better because you don't hear the traffic from the front porch. And with it being a holiday today, there's less traffic, but there's still, everybody riding their motorcycles and everything, and it gets loud on the front porch. So that's why I choose the back porch. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate the super chats. And, $3 is $3. Yes, Judas Priest. Excellent band. And Dave, we'll have a conversation about the guitar stuff, and I'll kind of give you some tips and tricks and all that. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate everybody in here. Be safe this Memorial Day weekend, and let's remember those who have fallen. Peace.